It's that time of year, everyone. The time where I get to hype up some hockey fans for the upcoming season, but also when I get to dunk on the bad ones. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As you know, the NHL season is right around the corner, and that means it's prediction video time. And like I do every year, I have 4 different divisions I'll be previewing in 4 different videos, beginning out east with the Atlantic Division. So if you guys are enjoying the content lately, want to support the channel, give this one a thumbs up, subscribe now, and let's get into the first of our 4 videos. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, then you know I made a declaration probably, I think it was at the beginning of last season, where I said, until the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs, I will be ranking them as the worst team in the Atlantic Division every year. And since they didn't make the playoffs last year, I'm sticking with that declaration. It feels like yesterday when we were all celebrating this team turning the corner after missing the postseason just by a few points. And since then, all they've done is regress and then, regress some more. All jokes aside, though, it feels like another poor offseason for the Sabres as they really did nothing to improve their team. In fact, you could say they even got worse after losing JJ Peterka in a trade, so there is that. But seriously, I feel like Buffalo fans just have to be sick and tired at this point, watching their team spiral year after year, shipping away talented players, regressing in all of the wrong areas, and just overall having to continue supporting an organization that's arguably one of the worst run in all of sports.
Have they ever sucked a passion out of you like they have me? I've dedicated my life to hockey because of this team. I can't do it anymore, man.
Of course, you do have your stars like Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin, but outside of that, there's this player has a lot of potential, or can this player stay healthy? Josh Norris, Zach Benson, Jack Quinn, Jari Kulik, their bottom 6, Owen Power, and what in the hell is going on with their goaltending? Just a spiral of what ifs and what could be for this team, and that's just not enough for me to rank them any higher than the 8th seed in this division. So that's where I'm going to leave Buffalo this year. Again, prove me wrong. When you do, I'll start to reconsider some things, but until then, you're staying right here at the bottom. You might be thinking at this point, whoa, Jimmy, that was a harsh and hot way to start off this video, but don't look too far because we're going to kind of continue on that trend with this next team. It's almost been challenging year in and year out to rank this team because for most of my life, I remember them being such a powerhouse. But then I realized I have to start taking off the rose-colored glasses because that powerhouse team, the Detroit Red Wings that I once felt was unstoppable, is just no longer there. Like Buffalo, I have been supporting the Red Wings for the past few years now, saying that they're either a player away or just need to figure things out and that next season is going to be their year. And just to be fair, they are nowhere near the level of suck that Buffalo has reached, but I think that they're starting to get there. This is a team that, like it or not, is nowhere close to that winning hockey club notion that used to be associated with the Red Wings brand. Are they as bad as some teams like the Sabres or those other rebuilding ones out west? No. I mean, at least they're not losing top players and watching them win elsewhere, but are they by any means a team who deserves the benefit of the doubt anymore? Also no. The Red Wings haven't made the playoffs in almost a decade, and they also haven't won a playoff series in 12 years. So maybe I'll eat my words, maybe not. I am a big fan of this organization. I want to see them succeed, and I love a lot of their foundational pieces, the Lucas Raymonds, Dylan Larkins, Moritz Seiders, Alex DeBrincats, and Patrick Kanes that they have accumulated over the years, but are they a playoff team? I don't think so, so I'm going to leave them at 7th. They're getting to the point where we need to start having a conversation about the upper management and just the overall direction of this team because, let's just be honest, it hasn't been great. Believe it or not, this next team I actually wanted to place around the 3-4 mark, but then I realized that's incredibly biased and there are still a lot of flaws with this team and I can't just let go of my integrity like that. So at number 6, this is where I'm going to place the Boston Bruins. Now, before you all riot, let me explain why I have the Bruins above teams like the Red Wings and the Sabres. First off, it was just one bad year, and I feel like the conversations and discourse that's been surrounding the Bruins following this season has been pushed way too far in one direction. Yes, the Bruins have problems with their top 6. Maybe there's some question marks with their defensemen like Nikita Zadorov. Can he clean things up? Can Mason Lohrei take that next step forward? And then obviously there's the big conversation to be had about Jeremy Swayman after earning that contract and then having such a down year production-wise. But there's still foundational pieces here. You still have David Pastrnak, who is a top 5 player in my eyes. You have Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm healthy again. And I believe that with all of those pieces back together and a fresh perspective with a new head coach, that the Bruins are going to come back and show us that they're still one of the better teams in the Atlantic Division. I think when we look at teams like Boston compared to teams like Detroit and Buffalo, there's a culture that's been built there, and they don't just accept losing. It's just not in their nature. Do I think that that's going to overcome all of their talent deficiencies? Of course not, but I'm expecting a bit more of a representable season from the Bruins, so I have them at number 6, still missing the playoffs, but definitely a better season than what we saw last year. Coming in at number 5, I feel like this one was interchangeable with 4, but this is where I'm going to keep the Montreal Canadiens. I think they're going to finish around the same mark this year. Whether they get into the playoffs or not is still a bit of a question. Really just depends on how many good teams come out of the Metro, but looking at their team, you're obviously going to get your points from Suzuki, Caulfield, and hopefully Demidov with this being his first full season. That's a fun player to keep an eye on, but really, the question marks with their offense starts with their center depth. I just don't trust Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook right now, and largely I feel like they've been a disappointment, whether that means they have been out of the lineup due to health issues or just not impacting enough when they actually are playing for the team. I'm hoping that maybe those two can step it up, because if they don't, I think Montreal is going to really lack the scoring that they need in a division that's very tough to play in. Defensively, I think there's no problems here. They are still on the younger side, but I think Lane Hudson and David Reinbacher as the centerpieces moving forward is a really, really big positive for Montreal. And a lot of you got mad at me for this in my last Montreal breakdown, but I guess you're huge fans of Montembeault. So if Montembeault can produce like he did last year, be just well above average at certain points and average at other points, then I think that they're going to be just fine this year. But it is important to note, expectations have changed for Montreal. They are no longer that young rebuilding team. They're a team that made the playoffs and a fan base that's now going to want to see them build off of that. So Montreal is going to stay at 5. Not sure if I exactly have them in the playoffs, but I think that they'll be hovering around that wild card 1 or 2 spot by the end of the year. Next up, this is where I have the Ottawa Senators. Like Montreal, sort of finishing around the same mark again, give or take a point. But for the most part, I feel like they are a playoff team and should be able to at least replicate what they did last year, if not better. Their top line's great. Their second line, I do have some question marks with. Is Dylan Cousins really going to be the right fit there? He's only played for half a season, so I'd like to see a little bit more before I make that determination. David Perron, I don't love there. I wish they could upgrade later in the year, but for the most part, he's a serviceable guy. So if they can maybe bump him down a line and improve that second line winger spot with Zetterlund and Cousins, I think they'd be better off. But really, my biggest question marks for Ottawa comes with their defense. I think Sanderson has obviously become one of the more underrated guys, but Zub, Shabbat, and Jensen, they left a lot to be desired in their postseason run last year. So I don't know if that's a coaching issue, if that's a player issue, but something's going to need to be improved there if Ottawa wants to improve in the postseason next year, because getting into the playoffs is one thing, but when the postseason starts, the game changes and it gets more physical, and I don't exactly love their blue line in that situation. What I do love, though, is their goaltending. I think Linus Ullmark is the perfect guy for them. I think if he can stay healthy, Ottawa's going to see even more improvements this upcoming season. So overall, yeah, I think they are a playoff team. Whether they win a round or 2, that's still to be determined. But they're a team that I feel like is a piece away from actually being a legitimate contender. And maybe they'll even surprise us a bit more this year and finish top 3. But a lot of things will have to go their way. So I'll keep them in that wild card race for now. Now we're down to our top 3, and at 3, this is where I'm going to leave the Toronto Maple Leafs. Definitely a regression after winning the division last year, but when you lose a 100-point player like Marner and really only bring in a few ancillary pieces to replace that, I think that that's a natural regression for a team. Overall, though, I've really loved the direction that Toronto has taken the past few years, rebuilding their D-core to get more physical, bigger, and built for the postseason. Adding goaltenders who have really surprised us all, Anthony Stolarz and Joseph Woll. There are a few question marks back there because there was some health issues a lot, but for the most part, I think that their goaltending will be solid this year, especially with that D-core in front of them. Really, though, the question marks are going to come with their top six, which is something I feel like we've really not had to talk about a lot for the regular season. Is Austin Matthews going to be healthy? Is Matthew Nyes ready to take that next step? Is Maselli going to be the one to replace Mitch Marner on the top line? And will William Nylander and John Tavares be able to make up for some of that production? Who really knows? That's kind of why I have them regressing a little bit, because while I do feel like they are one of the more solid rosters in the Eastern Conference and definitely one of the top contenders, I do feel like there are some points in this team that until we see the answers, we can't really make a prediction. And people are really just discounting the loss of Mitch Marner. This is a guy that, especially during the regular season, produced at a very high level and is probably one of the biggest reasons why they won the division last year. So I have them regressing just a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a huge gap, though. I think we're talking about like within 5 points of these next three teams. But when it comes down to it, I just think that the other two teams that are remaining just have the slight advantage. So Toronto is going to finish at 3. Overall, though, I'm very excited to see how they play this season. Going down to the final two, this is where I have the Florida Panthers. I'll keep this short and sweet. It doesn't matter. The Panthers could finish as a wild card 2 seed. They could be the top of their division, right in the middle if they want to. In the end, though, their season doesn't start until the spring, so the rest of the year, just kick back and enjoy the show. In all honesty, though, the reason I have them just at number 2 is because there are a few question marks to begin the year. How will they look without Matthew Tkachuk? Can they get Samoskevich to fill in that void and maybe be a good offensive producer? Maybe there's some injuries lingering from the playoff run. This is really all I can come up with, guys, for the Panthers. I honestly have nothing to say about them. They're still one of the top teams in the NHL, and they still should be the favorite to win the Cup. So let's not talk about the Panthers until the spring, because in the end, that's all that really matters to them. And coming in at number 1, this is where I have the Tampa Bay Lightning. Keeping it short and sweet like Florida, their season really doesn't begin until the spring. This is a team that knows how to get into the playoffs. They have one of the best offenses in the game. Their defense is still incredibly solid, and they have Andrei Vasilevsky. The biggest thing for them, though, this entire season, the whole thing they should be working towards is winning the division to avoid the Florida Panthers. Now, that's not a guarantee because, like I said, Florida could end up as a wild card team. You never know. But I think ultimately that should be their goal. They want an easy path to get to the conference finals, build some momentum, get themselves in a position where they know exactly the type of hockey they need to play to beat teams like Florida and Toronto. Realistically, that should be their only goal. They have an aging core. They have players who are incredibly talented and also underrated, the Sorellis, Hagels, and Points of the world. But in the end, I really do like this team, and I love what they have going for them. I easily can see them or Florida winning the division, but Toronto should be tossed in there as well. I'm imagining we're going to have around the same top 3 as we did last year, and the bottom part of this division is going to be a lot more interesting of a race than what we typically see from this division in the top 4. But that about sums up my Atlantic Division predictions for the upcoming 2025-26 NHL season. Just to quickly recap for you, I got Buffalo at 8, Detroit at 7, Boston at 6, Montreal at 5, Ottawa at 4, Toronto at 3, Florida at 2, and Tampa Bay at 1. Let me know what you think about my predictions in the comments below, and who do you have winning the Atlantic Division this year? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up and subscribe now. I have a few other pieces of content for you to check out as we continue to finish out the off season, so be sure to do that once you're done with this one. And again, thank you guys for watching and supporting the channel. I will see you in the next upload. So as I'm editing the final touches on this video, I can't believe it. Alexander Barkov, I believe, is going to be out the whole season with a knee injury. So keeping the Florida Panthers at 2 with both Tkachuk and Barkov missing time is not going to be exactly a good prediction. So I'm switching things up. We're going to do Toronto at 2, Tampa still at 1. Then we're going to do Ottawa 3, Florida 4, Montreal 5, Boston 6, Detroit 7, Buffalo 8. Those are my new rankings. Let me know what you guys think. Again, thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next upload.